Thank you for meeting today. And I'd like to ask you just some great tips. I'm sure you have so much experience to offer all of the viewers today. And one of the tips that I wanted to ask you, and let's just start out with, what was your favorite thing that your own mother packed in your lunchbox?
My mother packed very unconventional lunches. So my favorite lunch that I remember was actually my least favorite lunch when I got it. And it was bread, and on the side, wrapped separately, was some meatballs and tomato sauce, and separately was some roasted broccoli. And I was so traumatized by this lunch that I actually went to a payphone and called my mother and said, "How could you do this to me? How am I supposed to do this?" And my mom said, "Well, you know, I packed all the elements separately because I thought that you would have a nice fresh sandwich if you mixed all the meatballs and the vegetables and stuff and the bread together when you were ready to eat your lunch, and that way you don't have a soggy sandwich." And that really stuck with me, and it really just ties into what I'm doing today, which is not only talking about how to use Sara Lee deli meats in ways to make sandwiches and make them so they stay fresh and they're not soggy, but also to move outside of the average peanut butter and jelly situation into the stratosphere of other ideas, like a bento box that, you know, has a lot of different little elements that your child can mix together the way they want, or just skewering foods to have, you know, like little party foods, which gives sort of a different festive air to lunch. I think just changing up your child's emotional approach to what you give them for lunch not only makes it more varied, but it also allows your child to feel sort of differently about their lunch every day, and in that way know that you're not with them at school. You're not with them when they open their lunchbox, but they feel that love from you in the sort of unique and exciting choices that you've made in their lunchboxes.
And I think most parents find that that is the challenge, is
Totally.
variety. And just knowing that you had cooked in France, Los Angeles, you're in New York now, you've probably run into so many different cuisines. Have you run into a cuisine that makes a fantastic lunchbox, what the French children bring to school, just different cuisines that you can light on that let us think outside of the lunchbox?
Well, I'll tell you, being a chef, as you brought it up, I am a chef. I'm a working mother, but I'm also a child of a mother who made some very imaginative lunches. And the thing I love about America is I think that we really celebrate a lot of different cuisines in our culture. We're really a melting pot in a lot of ways. And so I have my favorites. You know, I love a good Italian deli sandwich. I like themes like a Thanksgiving turkey sandwich. I love a good old American Cobb salad. I really have my greatest hits of things that I like for lunch, but I don't limit myself. And I think in that way, you can make a bento box, you can make fruit sushi, you can make a burrito, you can cross all cultural lines. You might want to skip a cheese souffle. That might be too difficult. But other than that, I just sort of feel like the ideas that you can have that cross cultural lines are boundless in this country. And actually, on the Sara Lee Deli Facebook page, I have posted a couple of simple recipes to kind of get you out of that lunchtime rut, and a lot of tips that I like to follow as a way of thinking for parents that sort of free you up from feeling like, oh my God, I'm not a good parent. I didn't make the perfect color-coordinated, color-coded lunch. I'm not organized. You know, the Sara Lee Deli Facebook page is a great place to go to show how many of us are human and how our dilemma is the same. We also have now, starting yesterday actually, a What's Your Lunchtime Challenge contest. And the grand prize winner will actually get a lunchtime house visit from me, for them and 10 of their friends, and a year's supply of Sara Lee deli meat to come up with just 1,000,001 ideas about how to approach lunch, because I think the possibilities are really pretty boundless.
And I think that's where the answers are, is in the community, networking together.
Totally.
So I think the Sara Lee idea, What's Your Lunchtime Challenge, is a great idea, a great resource for parents in packing these lunches.
Well, I think, you know, I think kids are always looking like, what do you have for lunch? Or what do you have for lunch? And I feel like this Facebook page is a place where parents can go, what are you making for lunch? What are you making for lunch? And get a whole forum of ideas going. Because I just feel like, how much can you tap inside yourself and your own stories and your own influences? You really want to hear about other people. And I think this is a great way to do it. It's very communal.
Yes. Do you have a favorite seasoning for the lunchbox? What do you find that kids mostly like in seasonings, or even advancing some of their taste in some other seasonings that we can expose them to? What do you like to start with, end with?
No, no, I think that's so great that you're asking that because I think condiments and other stuff they can be so important. And I have to be honest, I'm much more about the lighter ones that have more bite. I love whole grain mustard. I love smooth Dijon mustard. I love mixing together like a little bit of one of my favorite vinegars with a little bit of olive oil and some dried oregano and just putting that in a little container on the side so you can drizzle that on your sandwich right before you're about to eat it. So it's not soggy, but it adds that little peppy, fresh pick-me-up right at the last minute before you eat. Those are really some of my favorite things. I love even soy sauce to add a little bit of salt, or if you don't want to add salt, you can even keep away from the salt by using some of the Sara Lee low-sodium products and moving more towards condiments that add a lot of pep. Maybe, a tiny bit of some kind of vinegar or fresh lemon juice mixed with a little bit of a neutral oil or just by itself. Just that little sprinkle of love can be the condiment that makes a sandwich, makes a salad, makes a wrap seem different and special and unique.
Those are some really great tips, and my kids do love all kinds of dips and condiments in their lunch. When
I
they
love
see
that. It's like
a small container with a lid, they know that it's going to be a special dip from home. And you are right about the Facebook page. Kids are looking in each other's lunch boxes,
totally.
and I, as a kid, watching kids eating peanut butter and jelly, while I might have had peppers and eggs on great Italian bread because I'm an Italian mom. So she does the whole soggy sandwich thing. She puts saran wrap between the bread and in the tuna. Didn't tell me. I bit into it and had a nice bite of saran. So that was kind of gross. But along the lines of seasonings, condiments, do you have some kind of fruit on a stick idea? Everything seems to be meats on sticks, cheese on sticks. Do you have a favorite that you like to put it together as a combination?
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, my daughter loves fruits and vegetables. I am blessed. And I know that that's not true for everybody. I have to tell you that I find when things come in cute vitamin-shaped packages, they generally hit the home runs. So I always go for the cherry tomatoes, I go for the grapes, and I actually love grapes and tomatoes together. I don't think it's something we think about a lot, but you get the tartness of a grape with the tartness of the tomato, and yet they're both kind of sweet. And one's kind of vegetal and one's kind of fruity. It's amazing. And I love when things are just whole, because you bite into them and they pop. And they also aren't cut up ahead of time so they don't kind of dry out. They're just kind of whole and natural. Those put on a skewer together. I love celery because I think it stays really juicy. So I would be really likely to stay with things like celery. I love it with melon because melon is also juicy. You got to think about that juice factor because you're not eating your lunch right away. So you make it. And then it sits in the lunchbox for a few hours. And as a general overall rule, and you'll find tips like this on the Sara Lee Deli Facebook page, but as a general overall rule, if I'm putting together a lunch for my daughter, however simple or complicated, if my mouth is watering a little or I have to resist the inclination to bite into it, that more than anything else sends the message to me that I'm on the right track because it's appealing to me.
Yes, definitely.